My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. All right, it is currently 9:40 p.m. It's still Friday, March 7, 2025. This is documentation that I want to make sure that I openly include in what is the prosecution in the state of California that is subjecting me to gang stalking for purposes of murdering me and also getting away with what a lot has already been committed. This is, again, the entity secretly and maliciously engaging in things in corrupt courts such as, and these are things which, again, I am suspecting and that I discern that, again, this third party, TRACEE Banks, that is gang stalking me, doing so with every relative that I am aware of, that I've been around. They were part of the same pattern of conduct, and what I've shown also the state of California is engaging in. In doing so, it's basically a lottery over my life while the entity is seeking to derive a benefit. That is everything that belongs to me, even things that have never been told to me about, trying to conceal it from me in order to steal it, in order to keep it a secret that it has already been stolen, whatever it is, whatever property, personal property, real property that it is. So I want to give context regarding what I'm documenting, what I remain subject to. And the entity that is engaged in the pattern of conduct is doing so with the intent to do just that. It's not, it is based on the fact of my identity in Christ. It is a system of persecution. It is satanic at its core, as I've shown the pattern of conduct, which is criminal activity, which is under all circumstances, regardless of your faith, regardless of whether you're an atheist or whether you are a disciple of Christ, you maintain a constitutional right to not be subject to the P.O.C. But I want to give context regarding my particular specific circumstances and the things that I want to make sure that the feds are aware of. And these are things that would surface in your own investigation. I remain open with regard to every area of my life. And so that includes the fact that I am subject to the P.O.C. and I don't have any privacy. And I haven't had any privacy actually my entire life while I've been living in the United States, majority of my life. I did live in Europe for a little while I was a child. And that is speaking to the pattern of conduct that he's not my stepdad anymore. They're divorced, but Tommy Allen Banks goes by Pete. This is a convicted sex offender, and he's still a sex offender, gang stalking me, and he does so, as I've documented, for example, on TRACEE Banks' communication device, monitoring me, and doing so while this third party is one that's a part of the military. So I do want to speak to, not only is Tommy Allen Banks, and I was subject to this system since I was a child. So the military is engaged in this pattern of conduct that I've been subject to, keeping me under surveillance everywhere that I live, with TRACEE that has been acting in concert with the state to keep me under what is this sort of system into my adulthood. And this is the circumstance that I'm in now. I'm exposing it and prosecuting it. And it is tied to the military. Tommy Allen Banks was in the Air Force. And even Leroy Lomax's Spencer. This is somebody that is my father, and he is also in the military. And this is the pattern of conduct, again, that I've been subject to since I was born. And so I'm only mentioning those details with regard to the military being a part of this pattern of conduct that the states are practicing, and I have chiefly lived in the state of California. I was born in California. I have lived in Europe. I lived in Germany. I lived in England, and this was again travel that was accommodated based on the fact that TRACEE Banks, my mother, was married to someone who was in the military, and I have always been subject to the targeting system. So it has happened abroad. It's not like it took a pause and then resumed when she was a single mother, back in California. I remain subject to the system at all times, at all places, and I have lived overseas, and I also was in the household with those who were a part of the military, and I was subject to this system. So I want to make sure that that's known as well. I want to also speak to the fact that I have stated before, and I'm going to reiterate, all of the criminal acts that have been committed against me in concert with the government. Any acts seeking to establish control over me, over the circumstances in my life, over, for example, as like a power of attorney would do, the type of person that has on paper would have the authority to control any aspect of my life as a fully functioning, healthy adult, as a legally trained practitioner in the law, a licensed attorney before the entity is engaged in gang stalking me to the degree that I'm going to property management. And as I documented at Alvarado Gardens, where you're seeing the pattern of conduct that I've been subject to, interfering with the ability to merely get a paycheck, in other words, to pay for what's included in being an attorney is paying to be a part of that club, which is on the annual fee. So you're talking about what is merely financial, and that's based on the targeting system that the state has been exacting against me for years, and as a matter of documentation since 2018. But for a prolonged period, I was being gang stalked while I was at Cal State San Bernardino. I was being gang stalked when I was in law school at Whittier Law School in Costa Mesa, California. This is the entity, and the whole time while I'm studying for the bar and taking the California bar exam, the pattern of conduct remained underway. And so all of this needs to be the federal government who I am exposing this system to. I want you to be mindful of these details. And in addition to that, where I have focused majority of my adult life on schooling, I have never been in any sort of romantic relationship with anyone that was remotely serious, where I've ever called anyone like besides third party Joshua Kayam Quaid. This is somebody who was referred to actually as a boyfriend in high school. Like, these people don't even count, so I'm not even going to name them. But you're talking about one boyfriend in high school, and that's just because I have never come across anybody that actually just. I felt, not to put it, but to be frank, no one that I found substantial enough to allow in my life under those circumstances. And by the way, you can see why, because the lifestyle of those who are of this condition, who were also secretly targeting me, a lot of times I'm finding pitfalls in the personal relationships with them, and it's never going beyond what is a surface level friendship, what is nothing other than it's not moving on beyond a friendship. There is a level of a cordial relationship, but I just want to make sure that it's clear. Not only did I maintain nothing more than friendships with the males that were gang stalking me, essentially, I want to also be clear, I've never had any serious relationships with someone. And the reason why I'm speaking to this is because the entity is not only engaging in what is things such as collateral harms that I've pointed out on my website. The entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct with the intent to criminally defame you, to also derive some sort of benefit from you, where perhaps they want your money, your property, but they just don't want you around. So accomplishing your murder and your kidnapping is what will accomplish that. So you have what are third parties like TRACEE Banks. You have third parties like any of the sex partners that she's had, which a lot of them were in my social circle, which again, this is why there would not be any substantial relationships with these third parties, not because I knew they were having sex with my mom, but because there is a lack of any substantial connection, relationship, and interest on mutually speaking. If there was interest toward me, it wasn't interest that I returned, and I can see why, because I was discerning something spiritually, but I wasn't aware of exactly what that was. I have never made any of these gang stalkers what is a partner in my life. I have never given any of them authority to exercise any sort of control over anything that I own, even it's something that I own, and the people like TRACEE Banks who are aware of it, who have been trying to control my life circumstances unbeknownst to me. Okay, I'm an adult person. I move out of the house to go to college. I go to Valley College. I go to Cal State San Bernardino. I go to law school, and you have this psychopath TRACEE Banks who was in the background with the state of California's assistance, okay? Engaging in all manner of criminal conduct regarding my identity, regarding exercising any control, and that would only be on paper, because I don't go to her for permission to do anything in my life, nor have I ever, nor do I legally have to. All right, and so the entity that is gang stalking, the state of California, is aware of this secret means to try to essentially take over my life and assume responsibility for me while they're repeatedly kidnapping me as well. This is when I'm getting to the point of documentation. So it just was brought to my attention, and I think that it's important to mention that the criminal acts that TRACEE Banks and those who have gang stalked, that have been engaged in the federal group stalking and monitoring against me, the entity using those and acting via those who were in my personal life, who acted in concert with TRACEE Banks, criminally cooperated with her in such efforts seeking to steal anything that belongs to me. I just want to be clear, it is nothing but theft. I have never consented to, nor have I ever been aware of anyone exercising control over any property that is in my name. And anyone feigning to be a spouse of mine, they are lying, and they know that they are lying. They are maliciously engaged in what is theft of my property through posing as a spouse of mine, where I have never been married. And that's why I'm stating I have never even been in a serious romantic relationship with anyone, because I've never come across anybody that was worthy of that sort of position. Okay. And then come to find out I'm being gang stalked, and that's why I've never met a man that was worthy, and I've never given anyone my affection to that degree to where I found it to be husband material. Okay, so I want to be clear, this is theft, and there is no one that is engaging in that sort of position, exercising any sort of authority over any money that belongs to me, personal property, over any real property that belongs to me, over any sort of inheritance, if any sort of thing that would be left to me upon the death of some unknown party. I'm just speaking with regard to under all circumstances. Anything that belongs to Erica Lorraine Spencer, that TRACEE Banks is unlawfully exercising control over. She's doing it with regard to her motivation for gang stalking me, and as a hitman who fully intends to murder me. And this is why the pattern of conduct remains underway. And those who acted with her, those who are under any circumstances currently or were in possession of anything that belongs to me, which would be discovered upon investigation. The entity engaging in fraudulent acts trying to steal property, which the state of California helps them accomplish, while they're gang stalking me at the same time and trying to falsely depict my character at the same time, and also keeping it a secret from me, that which has been left to me in someone's will or by an inheritance, or that has been literally gifted to me for whatever reason, doing so while engaging in criminal acts against me by feigning that you have some sort of power of attorney. I'm just speaking to anything that the entity could have possibly engaged in, which is, again, TRACEE Banks is at the center of it, and anyone claiming to have any sort of connection, that is not true. Eric Spencer has no rights. Nobody has ever been married. I've never married anyone. I've never even made anyone a serious boyfriend. And this, I want to be clear, no one is ignorantly stealing anything or exercising control over that which belongs to me. And anyone that would claim that to the federal government, that you would be investigating it, or that you are discovering it, and you're wondering whether I would enforce my rights against that person, absolutely I would. Everyone that is gang stalking me is intentionally and maliciously gang stalking me and sought to murder me while they were trying to literally trifle through what belongs to me, steal it, and then do away with me. This is the purpose of it. And there is nobody that can truthfully claim that they have ever been married to me. They have property. If they have property that belongs to me, they stole it, and they did so while they knew I was being targeted by the state, and they anticipated on my demise in order to keep that which they have stolen, and they are not ignorantly in that position. And anyone claiming that they were ignorant about what they participated in, stealing unbeknownst to them, is a malicious and a false. It's a misrepresentation of fact, because the entity that's gang stalking me, for example, the entity that is secretly engaged in any marriages with Tracy Banks to accomplish any fraudulent acts against me. They did so knowing that they were feigning to be my friend while at the same time targeting me in concert with the state. They're not ignorant with regard to anything that's going to result in that sort of criminal transaction. And it becomes a criminal transaction when you're marrying somebody that is related to me. You also remember all the totality of circumstances, any marriages that Tracy engaged in, or any marriages that people would claim to me on paper. I was never invited to the wedding. I never participated in the ceremony. I have no knowledge of it. And that's, by the way, not a lawful marriage either. That's not a contract of marriage. And neither shall it be honored under any circumstances. And then anything that was acquired from me, it was done unbeknownst to me. And it is a criminal act against me. And I have full intention to exercise my right, enforce my rights to that. And I want to make sure that the feds know that. In addition to that, there is nobody that is in any sort of personal connection or relationship to me that should be trusted by the feds to come anywhere near me. The entity that is gang stalking many of the people of the state who I have identified in the folder entitled The People of the State, these are third parties who represent a threat to me. And they are misrepresenting their relationship with me. And there is no existing relationship. I have changed my phone number. I have ceased communication with the entity as I realize I remain subject to the pattern of conduct and that the entity was actively engaging what is threatening my life as I documented by the LAPD. And this is what the entity is still doing while I'm in Ontario, California. And I'm looking directly at this third party, this hitman, fully aware of and apprised of everything that she is doing. However, the entity was gang stalking me when I was unaware of it, targeting me and trying to rifle through all of that which is and property that belongs to me, for example, or things that belong to me that have been perhaps bequeathed to me, unbeknownst to me, and the entity sought to just do away with me in order that I would never learn about it so that they can keep it, either by seeking to exercise unlawfully some sort of power of attorney or claiming that I'm mentally incompetent in order to have me kidnapped. It's seeking to gang stalk me in order to have me murdered so that they can keep it and steal it. Claiming that they're a spouse of mine so that they can, while I am being declared unlawfully as a criminal act as mentally incompetent, while they maintain exercise over property that belongs to me. And any sort of income derived from theft of property is income that belongs to me. And anything that is gained or in any benefits derived while the entity is gang stalking me, I want to be clear. That's why I'm stating this, because the entity that has done any of this is a part of the criminal pattern of conduct. And justice requires that all of that be returned to me. I have no intentions of sharing that which belongs to me with anyone. I am not married to anyone. I've never married anyone. I haven't forgotten that I was married to someone. I've never been married, and it's not something that I forgot. Okay, I have never had an addiction problem. I've never been someone that's suffering from any sort of mental illness. This entire malicious and farcical narrative has been created by the same entity that seeks to steal property from me. And I want to make sure that that is abundantly clear. No one is in any position of being trustworthy. They represent a threat to me, and anyone from my past whose name I already know represent that threat. And they are in no position whereby they are justified or properly maintaining control and authority over anything that belongs to me. And they should be held accountable under the laws. And they are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, where they have exercised anything that is, or stolen anything from me that while I am subject to this pattern of conduct. They were not ignorantly doing so. And while they're acting in concert with Tracy Banks, you are not ignorantly engaged in that theft from me and that assumption of my identity in order to accomplish theft from me, in order to assume control over any property, personal or real property that belongs to me. And it's unreasonable to claim, if any third party were to claim, that they were ignorant about what Tracy Banks was doing while they were in a marriage relationship or in a sexual relationship, or doing any favors for her while they are functioning in the government. That is incompetence, and that is a dereliction of duty, and they should be held accountable for it. And everyone helping Tracy Banks is engaged in that pattern of conduct in furtherance of murdering and kidnapping me. So it is insufficient. It's not good enough to claim, well, you just didn't know. This is while they were practicing witchcraft. They're engaging in the satanic system, practicing sex rituals while they were together, worshiping Satan while they're engaged in this and sexual activity together. And then on the other hand, they want to claim, well, I was ignorant about the fact that TRACEE was conspiring to steal Erica Spencer's property. I was just having sex with her all the time, but I didn't know that she was trying to frame her for this criminal activity because she wanted to steal her home that was bequeathed to her and X, Y, and Z. I'm just giving you an example. It is unreasonable, and it's actually not the truth. The people of the state whose name I know, they were gang stalking me well before I started documenting it. They were gang stalking me with the police when we were talking on the phone. They were gang stalking me when I would go to their house. They were gang stalking me when I would go to their house. When they would come to my house or when I would go to their house. They were gang stalking me while we were in communication the whole time. So the entity is acting with regard to what is being untruthful, where anyone is claiming that they have, where you are investigating and you find that they have any parts of exercising control, stealing, deriving any benefits off of property, personal, real property that belongs to me, that the entity has sought to keep concealed from me, and that they would also claim that they were ignorant about it. Or even if they just want to blame TRACEE Banks for it. TRACEE Banks cannot act by herself. She was not able to engage in this by herself, and this is not in defense of her. This is exposing everybody that should serve the penalties that justice requires, while this entity sought to murder me, and they thought that they were going to get away with it. And now I am blowing the whistle on everyone, and everyone should be liable for the ongoing attempt on my life because the state of California wanted to steal what belongs to me and then do away with me in doing so. So I want to make sure that that's abundantly clear. I have never married anyone. I haven't even been in a serious relationship. I have never met anybody that was boyfriend worthy, let alone husband material. Never. Never. And nobody that has anything to do with this will ever be my spouse. I will not be marrying any former Satanist. I will not be marrying any former sex partner of TRACEE Banks, any ex-husband of TRACEE Banks, nobody that was formerly engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring against me, anybody that is even capable of doing that. You are not my husband. That is not God's will. This is not anything that God is leading me to do. And in the physical, I want to be clear, it is a violation of my rights to let anybody that has anything to do with this criminal pattern of conduct continuously exercise control over property that belongs to me, while they're sitting around watching me and just sitting on property that belongs to me. And sitting and prolonging justice is not going to change my mind on this. I want to make sure that the federal government is very clear on my stance. Anybody that had anything to do with stealing my property, and that's what they're doing, while they're engaging in any false marriages, while they're engaging in or helping a criminal like TRACEE Banks and anybody in my family, seeking to both criminally defame me and gang stalk me, while at the same time trying to do things like assume my identity, engage in any fraudulent acts against me, trying to frame me for crimes that I never committed, or engage in what is claiming that they are married to me on paper. TRACEE Banks is not able to engage in any of this, nor are any other third party ignorantly engaging in this. It's not a coincidence. This is why I'm subject to federal group stalking and monitoring. And I want to make clear my intent and purpose to fully enforce my rights to the furthest extent of the law for every single third party that has anything to do with it. Third party and state actors that have anything to do with it. The state has knowledge about property that has been left to me. The state has knowledge about property that is actually mine, that belongs to me. And this entity sought to gang stalk me in order to murder and kidnap me in order before I could learn about it or before I could gain what is authority and power over that which belongs to me in the first place. And that's an unlawful violation of my constitutional human rights as well. And that's what every last one of these demon-possessed gang stalkers are also aware of. This is the motivation behind gang stalking me, besides the fact that they're demon-possessed. And I want to make sure that it is based on what is greed and the intent to profit from my demise. And there is nobody that is under any circumstances in any position, a level of closeness or relationship. They're lying about it. They're misrepresenting fact. They are feigning ignorance if they're stating that they didn't mean to steal this and they didn't mean to help TRACEE Banks commit that and they didn't mean to help in furtherance of essentially targeting me. It's at the very least dereliction of duty. And any government actor that would claim that, first of all, I've documented the police. That's not, I'm talking about at the federal level, because the police are gang stalking. So at the federal level, you're talking about the entity that is fully engaged in federal group stalking monitoring, and they are engaged in facilitation, period. Just like the people of the state, just like no state actor has any legal excuse with regard to ignorance, you're engaging in the elements of monitoring, and ignorance claiming you didn't know that the fake sun was over your apartment, so you didn't know that you were monitoring is insufficient. It's also not the truth. They are aware of the fake sun. They're aware of the entity that's gang stalking through the government in concert with the government. And I want to be clear, the government that is under any circumstances helping a hitman like TRACEE Banks who wants to steal property that she knows rightfully belongs to me. This is a psychopath that is stubborn, and until the day she is 6 feet under, this is somebody that will never admit the predator that she is, the psychopath, the multiple personalities that she has with regard to her targeting me and literally wanting to be me, and getting as many people as possible to join in on that. And this is not some story that I'm telling, in the same way that I never made up the fact that the government is stalking me everywhere that I go in helicopters and that a fake sun remains over me. This is the greater context. And everyone that had anything to do with it. And unfortunately, this satanic system includes those who were sex partners of TRACEE Banks. Look directly at them. All right, claiming that they were ignorantly in custody of. There is nobody that is any spouse of mine, and anybody claiming to be a spouse of mine is acting in furtherance of the pattern of conduct, which is done in furtherance of seeking to murder and kidnap me. All right, so I want to make sure that that's clear. They are misrepresenting fact if anyone is trying to claim that position, and it's untenable. And it's unreasonable, and especially for any government actor, anybody that works for the federal government, anybody that aided in what is maintaining criminal investigations about me as a means of keeping me under surveillance, gang stalking me. Because that's what the entity does. Talking about an investigation, placing you on things like a terrorist list in order to gang stalk you. And anybody claiming that they didn't know, that they were ignorantly, that's somebody that is at the very least derelict of duty, and they should be dismissed from their post. Okay? Because that's an organization that I would never want to work for. That level of negligence, that level of dereliction on the job, helping a terrorist like TRACEE Banks murder and kidnap me. She did it with the aid of the government. Okay? I mean, they're doing it with regard to wanting to steal what belongs to me. And also doing it by seeking to assume my identity, lying about criminal activity that I never had anything to do with. And the fact that I document everything in my life is just relevant, ongoing, additional context. But even before I was documenting it, I've been focused on my academic career and building my career. There is nothing criminal about anything that I've ever done. So aside from that, I just want to make sure that I point out that there is nobody that is in any position to share ownership or share in any benefits, any income generated from anything that belongs to me and to me alone. I will not share it because it is something that belongs to me alone, and that which belongs to me has been stolen from me, and the entity has sought to take it from me and never be caught for engaging in that. And anybody posing as a spouse of mine on paper, because we never stood before any officiator and were married. They lied about it. And they're not ignorantly in that position. They know that they lied about it. And if they're being investigated, they don't want it to be known that they were conspiring to murder me. That's why they were acting like they're a spouse of mine on paper. And that is no person that is trusted by me. Whoever they are, whatever the details are that you are continuously learning about and unearthing while you're witnessing me prosecute the state of California for federal group stalking and monitoring, understand the ongoing motives that you are investigating and learning about, and all those other supportive angles with regard to this P.O.C., they belong in federal prison as well. They are no friend of mine. They are no trusted state or third-party actor pursuant to me. And they represent a threat to me. That's why they engaged in such acts that they are not reasonably found to be ignorant about. Neither is that sufficient when the entity is engaged in domestic terrorism in this country. It's not enough, and it's insufficient. It just requires that you are serving the penalties for it in whatever way that you facilitate it, because people's lives are hanging in the balance. So incompetent federal officials that are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, they belong in prison. They belong in prison. Perhaps not life. You know, the facts and circumstances will support that, but they belong in prison because they're aiding in what is the murder and kidnapping of an American citizen. And because they don't know how to control their genitalia, because they like to have sex with witches, because whatever their issues are, it's absolutely irrelevant with regard to prosecuting and achieving justice. So I want to make that abundantly clear. Shattering all illusion Anybody that is currently exercising control over property that belongs to me, it's property that they sought to steal while they were hoping that I would be murdered and kidnapped, while they were hoping that I could be falsely depicted as mentally insane so that they can keep it, so that they can share it amongst the demons who are gang stalking me. That is no friend of mine, none of them. No spouse of mine, never been married, never even been in a serious relationship, nor would I with any of them. Nor is that going to be the case in the future. So do not be deceived. You heard it right out of my mouth. This is documentation that I want to make sure that is added on the record. It's 10:09 p.m. on March 7, 2025. And this is P.O.C. And that is a criminal interference with quiet enjoyment by the gang stalking entity that is still engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring that is going to be disbanded. This is the entity that is doing so with regard to the purpose of stealing property that it knows belongs to me, seeking to conceal that from me, and wanted to accomplish murdering and kidnapping me through demons like the Ontario Police Department, who are flying over a senior citizen complex, and it is amplified inside of the apartment. And the fact that they're doing it moments after I just recorded the lengthy addition to documentation providing relevant context about the motive of the gang stalking entity acting in concert with this hitman, TRACEE Banks, doing so in helicopter, okay? This is, again, speaking to AVANATH's prosecution. Pay attention. This is called criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. And the demon that is gang stalking at 10:10 p.m. was simultaneity to my documentation of the entity that is gang stalking and doing so as a means of what is harassment while I'm exposing the motivation of gang stalking police officers who are going to prison, who are doing so with hitmen like TRACEE Banks, who intended to steal property that it is secretly maintaining, retaining, keeping from me, and also trying to steal it at the same time, and also trying to get away with what they've already stolen, and doing so while I am documenting this on my phone. So I want to make sure the demons in units 33 through 64, they're the ones who are going to prison, and so is the demon stalking pacing in helicopter at 10:11 p.m. This is a 55 plus senior citizen community. The fact that you can hear it inside of the apartment, and it's also vibrating the apartment. This is where TRACEE Banks is gang stalking and does so by doing things such as claiming power of attorney. She's doing so while she's gang stalking me with the police seeking to murder and kidnap me. She's doing so while I document her and I speak to her criminal engagement that she could only commit with the corrupt government that is indeed gang stalking me, and doing so while feigning what is again, trying to claim crimes or have me quote unquote investigated for crimes that the entity has manufactured and or committed itself, trying to frame me while they're gang stalking me like the Ontario Police Department are doing right now, pacing over a senior citizen complex, doing so because the demons are very fearful of the truth that I speak. You need to know that anybody that is on paper trying to claim that they're married to me, they are doing so in furtherance of trying to murder and kidnap me. They are gang stalkers by virtue of that position, okay? It's maliciously underway. It's the ongoing motivation showing who is engaged in that POC. I have never even had a serious boyfriend because none of these demons, now that I know, who are gang stalking me were ever worthy of that sort of position. It has never happened, and it won't happen. And this is the entity that is engaged in gang stalking with the Ontario Police. That's the same entity that would be assuming that they're married to me on paper, and they did so to accomplish stealing property from me. And the simultaneity of the Ontario Police pacing over the senior citizen complex, over all the demons who are going to prison, and the prosecution of the gang stalker AVANATH. That's what's also relevant. The demon that is over the Ontario Woodside Senior Apartments Sky Space at 10:10 p.m. until 10:13 p.m. That demon's identity is speaking to what is federal prison, and they're doing so while it's letting you know the greater context and the truth about what I speak. The demons are always confirming the truth of what I speak while they arrive in helicopter, and by arriving I mean they were already present stalking. They tend to engage in amplified audible activity by stalking while they're monitoring. This is revealing the demon possessed who are sitting around hostile as I continuously tell the truth about who they are and what they tried to commit against me. And demons, anybody that assumed the identity of being my spouse is due federal prison. They are no friend of mine and they're no spouse of mine. And they were gang stalking, targeting me while trying to steal my property on paper, claiming to be a spouse of mine. If these are the circumstances, I'm letting you know exactly what was their motive and their knowledge in doing so. And the simultaneity of helicopter activity while I'm inside of this demon TRACEE Banks' apartment. This is speaking to the truth and this ongoing surveillance as I expose that truth inside of the venue, which is, again, criminal interference with quiet enjoyment at 10:14 p.m. Okay, this is a psychopath that's flying in circles pacing. TRACEE Banks' license 9HUZ740. She is being greeted before with helicopter activity, and then this psychopath is going to walk into the apartment. She's going to a mental asylum, and this is her diabolical and malicious agenda to steal from me in concert with demons that claim to be her spouse, her sex partners, gang stalking me together with Ontario PD. She's walking in the door right now at 10:14 p.m. All the demons at Woodside and units 33 through 64 are going to prison along with her. Helicopter activity circling around while she walks inside of the apartment. And this is federal stalking under Title 18 as well. She is doing so on an ongoing basis with the entity while I expose things such as the intent to steal property and doing so with the ongoing impunity and malice that is exhibited. The entity is speaking to what is severe mental illness, and this is why she is going to a mental asylum for the ongoing theft of property that has already occurred and the ongoing theft of property that the entity sought to procure through my murder while they were seeking to, on paper, establish me one way and gang stalking and psychologically torturing on an ongoing basis simultaneously. So the entity is seeking to assume my identity. This is an elderly woman that looks nothing like me, behaves nothing like me, has nothing sharing with regard to property, has never graduated any college course, and as doing so while she sought to steal property belonging to me, having sex with everybody that I know in order to acquire as many partnerships with regard to gang stalking me as possible. And they were all engaging in that ongoing conspiracy to murder and kidnap and steal that which belongs to me. Ontario police preceding the entrance into this apartment is the elements of monitoring. And it's also a psychopath that knows exactly what I exposed about on this podcast before the demon walked in the apartment. That's what's going to a mental asylum. And that's also what is Eric Spencer, gang stalking, seeking to steal property that belongs to me, a malicious psychopath, hostile to the exposure of it, going to federal prison, just like the demon gang stalking, flying over a senior citizen complex. And then you're hearing the demon walk in while the entity is vibrating the apartment, flying over a 55 plus senior citizen complex at 10 o'clock at night and consumed with what is my volume while I'm reporting her to the feds. This is the entity that is maliciously targeting on an ongoing basis. And as I continuously reveal the motivation for conspiring, engaging in the calculated system of trying to psychologically torture before murder and kidnapping regarding theft that has already occurred, criminal defamation, and these corrupt gang stalking courts that has already occurred in concert and on behalf of the people of the state, okay, who are gang stalking. They're all going to prison, units 33 through 64. And while you heard what it is that I just expounded upon moments ago, immediately follows the psychopaths who are stalking in helicopter with this demon that walks inside of this apartment. She is going to a mental asylum for the rest of her life where she will expire, and everything stolen from me by her and everybody else participating in that massive theft while they conspired to murder and kidnap me. There has never been anybody that married me. I've never been married. I've never claimed anyone as in any serious relationship, and anybody that she secretly married, this loving mother never invited me to the wedding. That's speaking to the ongoing purposes, criminal purposes of the entity that wanted to accomplish something on paper in order to, while they were simultaneously gang stalking me, which is again, the ongoing P.O.C. with the government that's flying over this apartment complex. And the relevant context is that it is uncharacteristic with regard to a senior citizen complex of a whole bunch of old people who are not sleeping. They're all awake while I speak to the truth about what is the motivation behind gang stalking, beside the fact that they're demon possessed and they practice a system of targeting American citizens and killing them for the purposes of deriving a benefit. Here it's stealing property that they wanted to conceal from me while trying to get rid of me by gang stalking me until the point of murder and kidnapping. Okay, that's what just walked into the apartment, gang stalking with the Ontario police, and that's what's going to a mental asylum as well. And remember the gang stalkers that she's acting with, everybody claiming to be a spouse, married to her, or claiming to be married to me, they're maliciously and intentionally engaging the P.O.C. in doing so. Okay, this is documentation of her gang stalking son, gang stalking on her communication devices while they share in the elements of monitoring, seeking to steal from me, seeking to falsely depict my character. He's going to prison while his gang stalking mother walks in gang stalking with the Ontario police. This is the same entity. Okay, he doesn't have to live at Woodside Senior Apartments. He's in Oakland, California. He's heavily documented. He's going to prison. It's 10:18 p.m. This is speaking to the same exact criminal controversy, and Linda Reyes is going to federal prison while the police are flying over the venue where she's working, systematically engaging in the pattern of conduct and seeking to murder and kidnap me. That's why the entity entity is gang stalking me, and doing so while I am exposing the fact that the entity is motivated by the prospects of stealing property that belongs only to me, which I will be sharing ownership with no one, and I will not be sharing any benefits derived from exercising control over my property, and anything else that belongs to me while the entity sought to murder and kidnap me. And there's nobody that is in a lawful position to do that. Nobody but the government itself handing over property that belongs to me. And understanding what is this psychopath, this sex offender, this serial killer's purpose in seeking to target her own daughter, who she wants to steal from, and willing to steal to the extent of committing murder with the same demons who are gang stalking in helicopter. Okay, it's 10:19 p.m. We're again at a senior citizen complex. Helicopter activity from 10 p.m. 10:10 p.m. to 10:13 p.m. Vibrating the apartment and amplified it because you can hear it on. So all I did was hold the phone up, and they're doing so with regard to the truth about what I just spoke. And it's not a coincidence that this demon walks in the apartment moments later. That's the mental illness, the multiple personalities. That's the predator. That's the sex offender. That's the demon possessed witchcraft practicing psychopath. Okay, and none of that is hyperbolic. That's what's going to be treated in a mental asylum. It is currently 10:20 p.m. This is P.O.C. So let me be even more specific. Glenn Anthony Williams, I've never been married to him. Alanson Bintu Lashley, I've never been married to him. Joshua Kayam Quaid, I've never been married to him. Let's see. Anthony Jawan Kennedy, I've never been married to him. Jason Isaac Fields, this wasn't even a boyfriend. This was nothing other than a gang stalker that would talk to me on the phone while he was targeting me with the state, in the same way that TRACEE Banks does on her phone while pacing around inside of her apartment. It's a means of engagement in what is surveillance on communication devices and the elements of monitoring while the fake sun remains over me over her apartment. This is what this third party was doing, gang stalking me while we were chiefly exchanging conversation on communication devices. And he was doing so with the state of California and the state of Nevada while he lived in Nevada. And if anyone is claiming to be a spouse of mine, I just want to be clear. I have never married that person. He wasn't even a boyfriend. You're talking about we never even went on a date. And I haven't talked to this person in a prolonged period of time. I haven't seen his face since 2018, where he was gang stalking me with what would be the Rialto Police Department. He was living in the city of Rialto. Any sexual activity he's had with this third party that walked into this apartment is a secret affair. Any marriage that he's had with this third party that walked into this apartment is a secret occurrence. And I was never invited to the wedding. And it happened for the criminal purposes of trying to assume my identity, steal property that belongs to me. And it is within the pattern of conduct by the state of California that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring with serial killers like the one that walked in this apartment and is engaged in the ongoing effort to try to steal that which belongs to me, and then trying to falsely depict the character of the one whom they want to steal from, the one that they literally want to be. All right. So this is the entity that is engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, having sex with everybody that I know, and then and laughing like the demon possessed person. That's what Satan does. Laughs when Satan is exposed, and is crossing path in doing so while listening to the embarrassment of her high level of promiscuity while she spreads Satan's spirit amongst those who I befriended, having sex with everybody that I did not have sex with, that I was merely talking to on the phone, or having sex with anybody that this demon-possessed stalker thought that I was interested in, while she was, again, conspiring my entire life and has been conspiring to steal property which belongs to me. And any of my so-called male friends whom I've never married, never even been boyfriend and girlfriend with them. I want to be clear. Any of them engaged in any marital relations with TRACEE Banks, married her on paper. They did it to accomplish stealing from me. They did it while they were gang stalking me. They are documented state actors engaged in the P.O.C. in doing so. Understand all the aspects of the P.O.C. Okay, so they are not ignorantly engaging in what is marrying this demon-possessed gang stalker and then simultaneously claiming that they were ignorant about what was going on with regard to targeting me at the same time. Nor should you be held accountable, especially those that are in the position of government. Okay, it is that which should be at the very least removal from that position in any government position. But I want to be clear, anybody that was engaged in marrying her, they were gang stalking me. So you're not ignorant about any thefts, any ongoing attempts on my life, any ongoing gang stalking, anything used with regard to marrying me and in furtherance of seeking to accomplish a theft of property that belongs to me. All right. And this is what, again, psychopaths with multiple personalities like this demon that entered the apartment while the entity is flying over repeatedly over a senior citizen complex by helicopter and then can do nothing other than laugh at what is very highly damning evidence, which is insurmountable, and that which is not, it's irreconcilable. And it's also where this demon-possessed gang stalker can do nothing other than laugh, where the fake sun rises and sets over this psychopath's apartment. There's nothing but that Satan can do other than laugh about it. Also, with regard to having sex with every male that I've ever befriended, there's nothing that this promiscuous demon-possessed Jezebel spirit can do other than laugh about the fact of the embarrassment behind being known as a whore while she was focused on gang stalking her daughter and stealing property that belongs to me and not her. Okay, it is currently 10:24 p.m. I want to make sure that that's clear as I name people, third party, just off the top of my dome, but it would be anybody that has any sort of relationship, because the whole focus of this third party is to literally accomplish murdering me and stealing property from me in doing so. So you're looking at all of the relationships in this demon's life with regard to ways in which they were targeting me and acting with people who were targeting me, including those in government. That's what the Ontario Police Department is doing by gang stalk by helicopter, by the way. That's literally the criminal relationship. But even those that she's having sex with, she's establishing relationships with, those in positions of government, gang stalking, getting in any marital relationship with somebody that I know. If this is a part of the fact pattern, the federal government that's investigating will know the details pertaining to that. And I want to make sure that it's clear right now. There was never any wedding invitations. And why was I not invited to my loving mother's wedding? I want to be clear, to a former friend of mine. Okay, of course, this wasn't an actual friend, but why wasn't that the case? Why wouldn't even my brother, Eric Spencer, invite me to the wedding? Is this a wedding that was kept secret from Eric Spencer too? She didn't invite any of her kids to the wedding of one of our peers. Eric Spencer went to high school with Jason Isaac Fields as well. I went to high school. I didn't know him in high school because I didn't talk to people that were younger than me, but I used to talk to him on the phone before I knew he was a demon-possessed gang stalking psychopath that likes to have sex with everybody, including your mother. All right. This is the entity that is gang stalking, and any instances of seeking to be on paper establish themselves as spouses to me, they're engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring, and they're lying. It's a misrepresentation of fact, and it's a very obvious one when you're engaging in the P.O.C. by having any sort of relations, because that's the knowledge of acting with TRACEE Banks. The entity is not ignorantly targeting me. They were doing so, and by claiming to be a spouse of mine, which you were never, by engaging in any the pattern of conduct by seeking to control property that belongs to me in concert with TRACEE Banks, they did so with knowledge. Okay, so you also know that because before they engaged in that level of the P.O.C., they were talking to me, gang stalking me on the phone. Okay, so they were engaged in the elements of monitoring with the Rialto Police Department. They were gang stalking with the entity that was gang stalking me while I was living in 2014 when I was living in Moreno Valley, talking on the phone. This demon, before he engaged in marrying TRACEE Banks in order to steal from me while gang stalking me, in furtherance of murdering and kidnapping me, he is very much aware of it and not ignorant of it. I want to make sure that that's clear as well. There is nobody that is innocent nor can reasonably claim ignorance. This is the entity that's engaging in a pattern of conduct, and they are delusional psychopaths in doing so, gang stalking for the entirety of the relationship that I had with him, which never exceeded what is merely being friends on a phone, telephone conversations where the elements of monitoring remain underway. So I want to make sure that that's clear. The entity gang stalking by helicopter again, while this third party TRACEE Banks is on her communication device, where the phone records are going to be used to prosecute the entity at 10:26 p.m. while I am speaking to all of the secrets, speaking to the criminal motivation of an entity, seeking to accomplish stealing property that it knows very much belongs to me, and gang stalking me in furtherance of that ongoing criminal conspiracy. The Ontario Police Department is being disbanded for seeking to steal property and in furtherance of what is gang stalking me in order to murder and kidnap me so that they can accomplish that theft with this hitman that's on a communication device murdering me with the third party on that phone. All right. It's currently 10:28 p.m. This is, that's Eric Corey Spencer. His license plate is JABO. He is in Oakland, California. He's gang stalking with TRACEE Banks on the communication device. They've both been engaged in criminal defamation. The entity is engaged in what is exhibiting severe mental illness, and that's why she's going out of her way to yell on the phone. Wow! That's a demon that is obsessively wanting to appear, and it doesn't. She looks desperate. She wants to appear as though she's not consumed or nervous or fearful of what it is that I'm exposing, while the police are flying over her apartment. And she calls her co-defendant, Eric Spencer, and because she doesn't even love her son, and she further exposes him to more time in federal prison while he's gang stalking with the police. He's already going to prison. But that's, again, a desperate demon that is calling and yelling on the phone so that you can hear her in the background, so that she can maintain what is unpersuasive, where she lives under the fake sun, where she's gang stalking with the police for a prolonged period of time. And she wants you to hear her laughing in the background. It's audible activity. This is the same apartment where you see Engineer Light moving across her kitchen cabinets, where you see Engineer Light moving across her ceiling. This is a demon that practices witchcraft, and she also practices witchcraft while she has sex with everybody whose name that I know. All right. This is, again, Eric Spencer engaging in that criminal engagement, the pattern of conduct. It's mental illness exposed. And this mentally ill psychopath with an issue with promiscuity is engaging in the P.O.C. because she sought to steal from me in secret. So I want to make sure that that's open to the public, and everybody helping her engaging in that by feigning to be a spouse of mine. I've never married anyone, and I never would forget that I married anybody. That never happened. And everybody engaging in that fraudulent act, collateral harms pursuant to the pattern of conduct, doing so with the cooperation of the corrupt courts. Okay. They're doing so with knowledge, and you should be held accountable for it. And I have every intent to enforce my rights to the furthest extent of the law for everybody helping this hitman. Okay. And every bit of property, every dollar, every real property that belongs to me, and any benefits derived from it, I want it all back. And I'm not sharing it with anyone because I never married anyone, and I never gave anyone consent or authority to exercise such or derive any benefits from that. Okay, this is what the entity was doing while it was seeking to murder me and do away with me before I could find out about it, and do away with me before they could be held accountable for it. That's the ongoing relevant information regarding the Ontario police flying over this defendant's apartment, this psychopath's apartment, as she walks in and while she's on the phone yelling at the top of her lungs talking to Eric Spencer so that you can hear somebody that sounds uninterested. This demon is absolutely interested while the fake sun is rising and setting over me at her apartment. This is a delusional psychopath with several personalities. Okay, the open shame of the demon possessed is relevant to the prosecution of the demon possessed who are gang stalking, and they engage in this system of trying to steal that which belongs to the target individual, wanting to falsely depict the character of that target individual who they want to steal from, and they also want to be that targeted individual. Okay, this is, again, the P.O.C., and this is relevant to exactly what it is that I'm talking about. I want to make sure that that's abundantly clear, and make sure that the feds who are already investigating this demon, you already know what she stole. You already know what she is. You know all the people that she's had sex with. You know exactly what she's doing because it's relevant to the multiple personalities, the psychopath that she is. Okay. None of this is name calling. These are facts. Okay, so I want to make sure that it is clear. So I want it to come out of my mouth while the police are flying over her apartment, further incriminating her, corroborating the truth that I'm speaking. I can't make these things up. I can't make these demons do what they do. They do it proving the facts regarding what it is that I'm speaking. Okay, so I want to make sure that that is clear. And also there is nobody that is in any trusted relationship with me. They represent a threat while they had any relationship with this third party, and doing so in furtherance of trying to steal property from me. And I want to make sure that that remains abundantly clear. It is 10:31 p.m. and this is P.O.C. at 408 West G Street, where the people over 55 years old have a helicopter flying in circles over their apartment complex. And it's the same thing where they are also aware of the fact that a fake sun remains over them at the same exact building where they're gang stalking day and night with that same corrupt government, who is, again, seeking to engage in an act of retaliation and obstruction of justice, because I'm speaking to the fact that the entity conspired to murder and kidnap me because they want to get away with stealing property that it sought to keep from me, keep a secret from me, and kill me off before I could learn about it and enforce my rights against them. This is the motive behind federal group stalking and monitoring. And the Ontario Police Department fully continuously demonstrate why they belong disbanded, which is exactly what's going to happen. Okay. It is currently 10:32 p.m. This is P.O.C.